Kia ora and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us for our quarterly market update on the state of tech careers in New Zealand. I'm Diana Sharma, CEO and co-founder of Mission Ready, and today's session is very special because we're bringing together two perspectives that sit at the heart of our tech ecosystem. One, the talent building lens, helping people become job ready and future ready, and two, the employment market lens, so understanding what employers are seeing, needing, and shifting towards. And to do this justice, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by someone whose insights I deeply respect. Abe, thank you for joining us. He's the GM of Potentia. And for those of you who may not know, Potentia is one of New Zealand's leading tech recruitment companies. They're in the conversations that matter every day with employers, hiring managers, and emerging talent. And they have a unique view into what's changing across the tech landscape. Abe, in particular, has been a long-time advocate for strengthening New Zealand's tech workforce. His work centers on helping people and organizations navigate shifting skill demands, embrace emerging technologies, and build teams that can thrive in uncertainty. He's someone who sees the human side and the market side, which is rare and so important in this moment. From a Mission Ready perspective, we are absolutely privileged to sit at another critical point of the ecosystem, helping career changers, upskillers, and new talent enter the industry with confidence, especially now in an AI-accelerated world where the rules are changing faster than the pathways. Over the past 12 months, we have watched employers evolving role descriptions almost monthly, demand shifting toward AI-enabled capability across almost every discipline. You think about UX, BA, data, software, product, and organizations looking not just for skills, but for adaptability, problem solving, and readiness to work with AI tools responsibly and effectively. We're seeing incredible opportunities and also a growing need for clarity. So people want to know, where is the market heading? What skills are emerging? What pathways actually lead to jobs? And what does AI ready actually mean for your career? And that's why this collaboration with Potentia matters. Mission Ready is on the front line of preparing talent, and Potentia is on the front line of placing talent. And together we can paint a more complete picture, grounded, real, and actionable. So with that, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Abe into the conversation. So Abe, thank you for joining us and for continuing to champion the development of our tech workforce. I'll hand it over to you to share what you're seeing in the market right now, the signals, the opportunity, and where you believe the next wave of demand is heading.
Kia ora, Diana, and a big mihi to the whole Mission Ready team. It's always a real privilege to come and speak and be part of this journey with yourselves and the wider team. And I'm really excited to speak today. I'm just going to share my screen quickly. I've got some slides that are prepared. And what I really wanted to cover today is really just to give you some real tips and some insights in terms of what's really happening out there. I'm general manager, but I'm also a hands-on recruiter. So I'm out there in the market. I'm talking to people every day. My team all out in the market, feeding back what they're hearing and seeing. It's a pretty exciting time to be out there in the market at the moment. AI has really flipped the market, is what I would say. But there is a way that you can have an unfair advantage out there. And I'm going to share some of the tips with you today. I'm going to start with a bit of where the demand is right now. Like what are our clients really looking for? Because it's quite interesting. The formula is a mix of the old and the new. So it's not that if you're a cloud engineer that you suddenly become irrelevant. Actually, you become more relevant. So I really want to share some of those insights with you today. A bit around what's really changing, and it's really about being AI ready. And what does that really look like? A brief high level from me, and thank you so much for the warm welcome, Diana, and the background on Potentia. So we're the largest privately owned IT specialist recruitment agency in New Zealand. And I've been in recruitment for coming up 17 years. I feel like it's just clocking over. I've always been saying 16, but I feel like it's 17 now. So we're going to go with that. So a bit of the market stats and what's happening out there at the moment. So right now, we're seeing a significant uplift in return for organizations from AI. So right now, we're seeing about 91% of New Zealand organizations are seeing efficiency gains from using AI. So what does that look like? Sometimes it's as simple as their staff using ChatGPT to simplify what used to be long-winded tasks. For example, responding to emails, or maybe you need to do a presentation about AI and you're using AI to help craft and shape your thoughts. 77% of people responding said that they had operational cost savings. And I think that links again with some of that what I would call the base level use of AI. You can actually get quite a few efficiencies and cost savings just through those levels. And then 50% report direct financial benefits. And actually the setup costs in terms of setting up AI are really reducing and getting very, I would say, very accessible, that is the biggest shift that I've seen. The data around this was very much that about 30% of businesses had a real AI strategy, and that was only 6 to 12 months ago, and that's lifted significantly as businesses have started to realize that actually they need to embrace AI and figure out a way to embrace it and embed it in their business. Keeping people at the center, though, is critical, and it's the key line that I hear from all businesses. Our AI is to make our big people more efficient, quicker, and more productive. It's not about replacing our people. And this is a line from most SME businesses, which makes up a majority of businesses in New Zealand. What we have seen, though, is some large enterprise organizations and some of the globals make significant cuts. So we've not seen that in the SME sector yet. And the language we're getting is that it's about how do we make our current people more efficient and move quicker. So I just wanted to share that because that's an important thing to be aware of.
That's really interesting as well, Abe, because you're right. There is a lot of noise in the market around how enterprises are cutting costs and people, and therefore thinking that AI will completely replace people. But there's also that shift coming back that, hey, how do you actually make it efficient? So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's really insightful.
Pleasure. I feel I think it's a big fear for a lot of people at the moment. So I feel like that's something that hopefully is one big takeaway for anyone on this call. That actually that's not the line of most businesses in New Zealand. So it's reassuring. It's reassuring for us as well. And the other piece that has happened is there's been a lot of work from government in terms of creating some guidelines, or what I'd say guardrails for AI. One of the biggest challenges with AI is privacy. And we've already seen I think just this week, there's been one AI business that has breached copyright of a whole lot of authors, and a whole lot of New Zealand authors actually, to inform their model. We're going to see this more and more. So we're going to continue to see the government focus on how can they provide some guardrails, and actually how can they put in some policy to really protect consumers, protect businesses. There's a long way to go, and AI is moving so quick that it's a really good signal from the government that they're really committed to this. What we're hearing out there in the market, what's been brilliant is we've seen job ads rising after a really long slump. And I'll be honest, I think I was on the last call with Mission Ready, and I was talking about the market stuff. We have seen a significant uplift. The data that I'm referring to was between August and September. We've continued to see that trend coming into the end of the year with higher demand than we've seen in 2 years. So it's a really good picture of where we're going. The labour market in New Zealand is really wedded to the housing market, since we are a country where we generate wealth. The key way of doing it is to buy property. And as a result, that housing market has a big impact. So we saw the official cash rate get adjusted again by 0.25, going down. What that means is interest rates go down, it's less expensive to get money, and therefore people are starting to spend. So we're starting to see already early stages of some heat coming into the property market. We're seeing business confidence improving, and we're seeing consumer confidence improving. So it's all a really good picture. It's a good picture of where we're starting to go. I'm overlaying that with a little bit of I think it's going to be gradual still. We're not going to suddenly have a big sudden massive spurge in demand like we saw just post-COVID, but we will continue to see a move in the right direction. So what I'd say is for those people that have been struggling out there to find work, it's improving. What I would say though is that the competition is fierce. So a lot of what I want to talk to you about today is how do you give yourself an unfair advantage, or how do you make sure that you're well prepared for that market? Some of the
Abe,
other
could I
things,
just check in
sorry.
with you about the job ads rising again? Is that across the board, across all industries, or is this specifically for tech?
Great question. My biggest knowledge is in tech. That's mainly where I work. However, I'm hearing from some other agency leaders. I'm part of a agency leaders forum through the Recruitment Association, and they're all reporting the same, that they're seeing a move in a positive direction. They're also very much like, oh, we're hoping it's just going to go like this next year, but we're also very aware that the last 2 years have been really challenging. So they're anticipating similar. So to answer your question, yes, we're seeing a shift in a positive direction for demand. And companies are more willing to hire than they were a couple of years back. So it's all good signs. The other thing just to be aware of is that AI and the tech where we're going, it doesn't happen in isolation. So we've seen a significant infrastructure investment in New Zealand, interestingly. So we've seen Microsoft NZ Cloud region go live. We've seen AWS launch local-based cloud servers in New Zealand since September of this year. And we've also heard Google Cloud has been announced as well. So what we're seeing is the demand for AI is really fueling the need to uplift our infrastructure and our technology infrastructure. And I think what we've got to remember, going back to basics with AI uses a lot of grunt. And actually, regardless of whether you're using cloud, there has to be a server somewhere that's processing that data and that information. So even though everyone's in the cloud, there has to be a server somewhere. And I think it's an important thing to remember. And what it's really creating, and we've just heard some announcements in the last couple of weeks, it's become a bit of political fodder. It's just around the US looking to mine certain minerals from New Zealand that are literally made for servers to set up the infrastructure and the grunt to be able to support the consumption of AI tooling, and how quickly the tools are advancing. And the more it advances, the more grunt it's requiring to run these tools. So interesting times to seeing how we keep up with that demand. But there is also, and I won't go into this because this is a real political conversation at this point, is actually there's a real piece around energy consumption and how sustainable AI is in terms of the level that we're using it at the moment, which is something that we're starting to hear more and more about. So watch the space in that area as well. So where demand is right now, so we're seeing a lot of demand for AI and machine learning engineers. And what this is really is it's not that you'll just be doing AI. So if you're an AI engineer, you need to be really strong in back-end languages, because that's where AI plays quite often in businesses. So businesses that are normally hiring like a Python developer on the back end, they're also wanting a Python developer who is really good in understanding AI. They ideally can even set up AI agents, but at least understand how to integrate AI solutions with the way they do their code. So it's an and, not an or. So that's been a really interesting trend. And I would say we're continuing to see, initially, I think when I had this conversation, well, it's 6 months ago that we jumped on this call. Gosh, it's gone so quick.
Yeah, 6 months ago.
Yeah, a lot of our clients are saying, oh, if they understand a little bit about AI, that would be great. Now what we're getting is, hey, actually, we need a really good back-end engineer They need to understand AI. They need to point to where they've utilized AI agents to speed things up. And we need them to have an in-depth understanding. So the language is really matured and what our clients are asking for, which has been an interesting trend. There's still a lot of demand for data engineers and analytics engineers. So again, this is about pipelines, key kind of vectors and quality. We're seeing a lot in the AI product and technical project management space as well, as organizations are embracing actually what does AI look like for us. It falls back into that typical product lifecycle. Okay, we're going to have an AI agent and it's a product that sits within our technology ecosystem. So actually taking product management principles and applying them to AI technical solutions as well, just to make sure that what we're building is actually solving a problem. Because I think we all get really excited about some of the AI tech that's coming out. We build it, and then the business goes, "Oh, this is cool, this is shiny, but it doesn't solve my problem." So we're still having the same challenge that we've always had in tech, as we build really cool stuff. But if we're not solving a problem, then the business doesn't want to consume it. So it's becoming a bit more formalized now, which is great. This is what we wanted to see. We're also seeing quite a demand in governance, privacy, and security. And again, going back to what government are doing out there as well around privacy and security, putting controls in place. What we're hearing in stories are already coming out around privacy breaches and the like. New Zealand in particular is really passionate about sovereignty of people's personal data, and particularly within our Māori communities. It's really important that our people actually own their data and that they're able to protect it, ensure it's not getting used for means that they haven't agreed to. So that continues to be an area where we're seeing demand for people that can help support businesses to leverage AI in the right way, in a socially responsible way. So we'll continue to see that growth there. And this is across all ranges of sectors, healthcare, through to data center ecosystems, through to agri-tech. We're seeing it right across the sphere. And interestingly, the financial services and insurance spaces as well. Obviously, there's a lot of, particularly with your banks and that side of things, there's a lot of private information in there. So you've got to be very careful around where you're applying AI, who's not great with privacy, to help speed up the process or operations. So interesting to see. What we're starting to see is the way that people are engaging talent right now is starting to shift. We're seeing smaller squads. So rather than building out massive dev teams, we're seeing 1 to 3 like strike squads is what we'd call them. And we're seeing real uplift and use of contractors or people on contracts. If you all heard of the concept of moonlighting, where basically you're working across a range of different organizations as a contractor, we're going to see more of that in the market. And statement of works. And statement of work is essentially where you've got to set, hey, this is the outcome we're looking for, this is the budget, and this is the timeline, and this is what we're committing to as an organization. So we're seeing businesses engaging, particularly with consultancies and vendors, on outcome-based statements of work, rather than necessarily hiring a lot of headcount for those roles. Yeah. Some hiring trends that you should know as well, and this feeds into the demand we're seeing in the market and why we're seeing more of the squad, smaller style hiring happening, is that there's a lot more buying solutions rather than building them. And the reason I say that is because actually there's a lot out there. The biggest challenge is validating them, because everyone solves every problem is what we're hearing out there at the moment. Because there's just so much we can do with AI. It's the validation to make sure, is this fit for purpose? Is this solving my problem? So there's a real demand for off-the-shelf AI, and then integration into the current environments. Because when you build something bespoke, you have to have a team of people that understand how to build it, how to code, and actually there's a lot of cost and expertise that goes into that. And it's certain expertise that is in short supply at the moment. So there is a real preference to buy off the shelf first and integrate. And this leads into what we're talking about for outcome packaging. So work purchased on mini statements of work with milestones and measurable return on investment. So kind of building on what I said before about statement of work, it's about what are we getting back? Like, what outcome are we getting? What business problem are we solving? So organizations are looking for people that understand that as well. So I think this is important to the way you're having conversations when you're meeting potential employers. It should all be about business value, return on investment. How am I solving a business problem? And it doesn't matter what role you play, you need to really be thinking about that language. And we're seeing some real public sector momentum. So again, it's going back to, we're not just seeing the frameworks put in place, we're seeing accelerated trials, we're seeing government actually sign off on AI programs. Each of the key large government agencies now actually have an AI team set up within their digital part of their organizations. Health does, I know Ministry of Education does. There is a real commitment from government to really move on how do they enable AI, how do they use AI-enabled tech to really help themselves go faster. So it's pretty exciting times. So think about, what is the problem? What data? What is the data that supports how I'm going to solve that problem, or what that problem really is? And what does good look like? Like, is it a 20% uplift? Is it a 50% uplift? Or what are we measuring here? So again, it's thinking about, what is your return on investment using data and what's realistic? And again, any role, you need to be having these thoughts and thinking about it in this way. What employers are looking for. So again, it's pretty similar to what I've shared before. It is about privacy, safety, understanding what light AI risk assessments look like, and how do you bake them into the way you work. So do you have a strong understanding of how to do an AI risk assessment? Do you understand privacy, the core principles when you're working? So these are key things to I suppose do a bit of study up on if you're not across it already. There's a lot out there, and I would say lean into some of the frameworks that are being produced by MB and some of the other government agencies. Very big focus on APIs. It goes back to what we are talking about earlier as well. So if you understand an API, and again, I would actually take this back, because I talk APIs all the time, but it's not common language for everyone. So API is basically something that allows one application to talk to another, so in simple terms. So it's like a translator. It's the best way to think about it. So APIs are the gateway for us to get like if we have a CRM as a business and we want to plug in an AI, we need an integration or an API in the middle to make sure they actually can talk a common language. So we're seeing a real demand for employers looking for people that understand APIs, understand how they work, and when it's appropriate to apply them. And we're also
Is there
seeing,
a particular integration tool that is starting to stand out, like make.com or something else?
Yeah, we're seeing a whole range actually.
Yeah.
And the demand from our employers is, as long as people understand APIs, they're not necessarily always looking for a specific tool. But the ones that you've mentioned are some of the common ones, definitely. So it would be worth doing some research on maybe the top 10 common APIs, and just at least having an understanding. You don't need to necessarily have technical depth, but enough knowledge that if you get asked a question, you kind of understand when you might use one API over another. But it's a really good shout. There's a lot of work happening at the moment around paid pilot briefs as well. So actually, let's try this solution first. We'll pay for it for like 2 to 6 weeks. Let's try it out, and if it fails, we'll go back to the drawing board. Or if it works, then we'll look to scale it to kind of de-risk it a bit. So that's definitely starting to happen more and more. So again, good for you to have that understanding. And what do you actually bring to an interview? So make sure you've thought about some use cases. Like, when have you actually done this before? It might even be in your own personal You may have gone on your own journey to do your own AI development. It doesn't have to be something commercial. So when have you actually shipped a micro use case? So you've identified a problem, you've created a solution. What were your guardrails? Like, how did you make sure it was compliant? Has some clear architecture around how you're going to build it. And then a cost dashboard. Like, what is the actual cost involved? And then what are the risks and limitations, and how did you mitigate them? There's some amazing tools out there where you can build an app from scratch. So one of the ones that I've been exposed to is Lovable, where with some really good prompting in ChatGPT, you can basically build out from a problem statement and build out an app and a solution and load it into Lovable. That's just one example. There's a lot out there. So I'm not endorsing Lovable, by the way. I'm not promoting for them. It's just one I can think of off the top of my head. There's a lot out there.
Replit.
Yes, there's heaps.
There's heaps.
Have a muck around with them, because if you can go into an interview and you can talk about how you had this problem and you created the solution, and here's actually my app that I created, and with those type of tools, you can actually show them something. I mean, yes, it's not perfect code and it's a bit buggy, but it's enough to give someone an idea around your thought process and where you got to. And so even without having work experience, if you haven't got that yet, you can show how you've taken a problem to a solution end to end, which is amazing. So I would highly suggest having a muck around with that if you haven't already.
That's a really cool suggestion, Abe. Are you seeing a lot of people bring to the table some of their experiments to show how AI ready they are? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, in all honesty, we're not seeing it enough. So that's why I say, like, if you do that and you turn up to an interview as a new grad or someone new to the market, and they're like, actually, what experience do you have? So actually, I haven't got professional experience, but let me show you what I've done. Can I share my screen with you? And I'm just going to show you this app I've built. Here's my problem statement. Their first question is going to be privacy, security. How are you mitigating it? And so with that framework that I've provided you, you'll actually be so prepared to answer those questions because you've already thought about it.
That's great.
It's going to wow that employer, and it's going to be very different to the experience I've had with other candidates who haven't had the professional experience. Yeah. So some simple checklists to think about as well. Lead with impact metrics, not model names as well, in terms of whenever you're talking about AI. Know the New Zealand guidance, explain how you comply. So again, privacy governance. Show how you can ship safely. And that goes into, have you evaluated privacy, security ramifications? Can you answer those questions confidently? And again, you still need to be fluent in some kind of code, whether that's Python or SQL, have an understanding of APIs, understand a range of different technology tooling around how you actually get there. So doesn't mean that you don't need to code anymore, which I think is one of the things I want to dispel with AI, is that actually being able to code and having that knowledge will always be important. Because remember, if you don't know how the engine works, when it breaks, how are you going to fix it? So I'll leave you all with that. And thank you. Thanks again, Diana, and thanks for the Mission Ready team. It's been a privilege to be on the call today.
Oh, that's amazing. No, thank you. There's lots of amazing tips there and lots of takeaways. I'm sure it's going to be super valuable to everybody who's been on this call. Just want to probably tease out a couple of things, Abe. So one of the biggest things I think we're seeing is a little bit of confusion, and I think you touched on it a little bit, with people kind of thinking through, is this a good time for a beginner to enter a tech role? Do I really need a degree to work in tech? Or will AI replace these roles? So if you look at it from your vantage point, what are the real opportunities right now for someone considering a first-time move into tech? So what are the myths or outdated ideas they should stop believing, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the myths I would like to bust today is you don't necessarily have to have a degree to get a role in tech. If you turn up to an interview to a hiring manager where you've built your own app, you build it from a problem statement from scratch, you can answer those key questions around security, risks, How would you actually build it? How would you ship it? How long would it take you to actually pull a team together to be able to build it? They're going to be blown away. And actually, you've got seasoned developers who wouldn't be having that conversation. So it gives you a real point of difference. And in the market and the world we're operating in, actually employers are looking for how people are applying AI and how are they, what is their knowledge and understanding? Because a lot of the people that are in those hiring seats are still learning themselves. So I think it will give you a real point of difference, even without having a degree behind you or the actual commercial experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. And would you agree, to paraphrase a little bit, would it be fair to say something along the lines of, hey, it's not about AI doing your work or AI being able to have all the answers for you. It's more about how do you leverage AI in your roles in the future and having the aptitude and the attitude to use AI in the right way, using the right thinking methodology and judgment. It's still at the end of the day a very human-led approach to leading the decisions that we're making as a business.
I fully agree with that statement. And what I would add to it is actually one of the key things I think about when it comes to AI and using it appropriately, are you thinking critically every time you interact with AI? If you're using AI all day throughout your job, you'll go home more tired. And that it's an interesting thing to think about. And I just suggest everyone that's on this call that's using AI right now, is AI doing the thinking for you, or are you critically analyzing and engaging with AI to build on the concepts that you already have an understanding of? And they're very different things. And to really leverage the opportunity we have, critical thinking is key. I was about to say critical, but
Yes, perfect. And one last question for me is, there's a lot of people also wondering, what are the actual skills? So you've got the technical skills, obviously, when they train for a particular role, but what are the skills they actually need to get hired? And is there a pathway that leads to a job faster?
Great question. One of the key what we're starting to see is vibe coding. Has become a real common concept out there. Now, vibe coding, you've got to be really careful because vibe coding, it can look like you are a lot more proficient in coding than you actually are. So it's understanding the limitations of vibe coding, but understanding how to use it. And vibe coding is very much linked into some of the application I talked to before, like Lovable. That's very much vibe coding. So people that understand what the limitations are, how to utilize it, and actually enabling you to quickly go from a problem concept to something that you could pitch. We've actually seen people take from a problem using vibe coding and be able to pitch for funding for an app or a solution. So to answer your question, if you understand vibe coding and you're interacting with it day to day, that's going to give you a really different point of difference that will lead you to employment opportunities. Just because businesses are looking for people that understand AI, that understand how to interact with it. The other area I would suggest is prompt engineering. It's a new discipline that's come up. And this goes back to what I was mentioning earlier. When you're interacting with AI, you need to become a really brilliant prompt engineer. You need to understand how to critically challenge and analyze what the AI is bringing back to you to actually make sure that it is accurate, because we all know that there's a lot of errors. AI makes errors, and actually we need to be able to critically look at what it's doing and validate it, and then continuing to interact. Treat it like a really smart new grad is the way to think about it, to help supercharge you. Does that answer your question, or do you want me to build on that a bit more, Diana?
No, that's great. If you could just build on it a bit more, because I guess those bring in some of the techniques that we must have. But also, it sounded like one of the critical elements that comes into using these tools is not necessarily using the tool in the right way. It almost feels like communication. how are you communicating the value at the end of the day to the stakeholders? And you mentioned multiple times that you must know the ability to understand what is the real business value that you're going to create as a result of using these tools, or the ROI to the business, or what is the business problem that you're really trying to solve. So if you can touch a little bit on that, on the communication of the leadership element that you need to be bringing into the way you're approaching this.
Yeah, that's a great shout. So from my perspective, you only learn and develop these communication skills by trying to do it and failing at it. That's where we learn best. So my advice would be, if you are looking to get into the workforce for the first time, have a go at creating these apps. Pitch them with your family, pitch them with your friends, pitch them with the people that are actually not going to hold back with giving you critical feedback. Because ultimately, we're selling to the end users. Yes, it may be someone who's sitting in a CFO seat in an organization. However, they still have a family. They still have they're just people at the end of the day. So what I'd say is try, fail, and try again, learn. That's how you develop these skills. Communication skills are only developed through for actually trying to do these things. And what you're actually trying to master is, going back to what you mentioned earlier, is how to communicate the return on the solution that you're providing in layman's terms. How do you simplify it? And are you able to confidently articulate how you have put checks and balances in place to ensure privacy, security, and data protection and all those good things. So there's a real opportunity. And look, I think a couple of years ago, I couldn't have been giving this advice. That's what's so exciting, is that actually with the tooling we have out here now, like, you could always go and try things to be entrepreneurial and try and pitch something, but you would have to learn how to code to do it. Now you can do it without coding. However, if you actually want to build it, you're still going to have to hire a team of developers. You're still going to need those resources to build out a really fully functioning app.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And I think one of the things that we are seeing is, especially in product teams, there's a convergence of roles. So almost like the BAs, for instance, need to know how to use these produce prototypes in a way for testing and user testing and so on, which means that their jobs are shifting slightly, because there are parts that can be automated and that reduces the workload a bit, and therefore you can add additional skill sets, which makes you more valuable. And the same thing with UX designers, right? You could be collecting the requirements, and you could be writing the user stories, and you can be using all of that. So almost taking an end-to-end approach. Is there a convergence that you're seeing in roles right now?
It's pretty amazing. Like, I've got BAs that I talk to that are using it to build out their user stories. But where they're having to learn is, hey, I'm able to get through a lot more work a lot quicker than I ever have before. However, I'm doing it in quite a different way, and I'm having to think really critically around the outputs and ensuring that I'm actually not allowing the AI to make assumptions, that I'm really guiding it through real human conversation. And, again, it doesn't replace those human conversations. However, you now have an AI note taker that can help take that information. So instead of having to have a meeting, write it all down, then analyze it, compile it, you can utilize an AI tool to do that, to do the recording, to analyze the data for you. However, AI will still always have biases in the way it looks at that. So actually, it's really important that BA is actively listening in that conversation. I think one of the biggest things, and one of the feedbacks I've had, is it's actually enabled some of our BAs to be a lot more present in the conversations they're having with stakeholders, because they're not having to furiously write notes, which has been an interesting output from this. However, they have been aware that they've had to be really careful not to just trust the AI's analysis of the situation, that they need to apply their own critical thinking.
Yeah, that's fair.
The other piece we're seeing, and slightly different, you've got your BAs, and then you've got your product managers and product owners. We're starting to see some people in the space using vibe coding to actually go, right, I've got this idea, I've got this concept. I want to be able to show to developers what I want to build to see if it's doable. And they're actually now able to do that with something that they've vibe coded or built. Yes, it's not perfectly working, but they can then go and see a team of developers, and particularly a lead developer, and say, hey, this is what I want to build. Is this technically possible? And what would I need to build it? And it becomes a very different conversation at that point. So I think these are where the opportunities are, and this is where the exciting shifts are in terms of where people are spending their time, and actually how they can move quicker around getting return for the business and getting movement on products at a whole different level.
That's exactly right. Awesome. All right. I was trying to see if I could summarize everything we tried to talk about. There's way too many good points here, but I'll pick a couple just to get us there. So I love the idea that we absolutely need to understand privacy and model security. Those are critical elements to ensure that you can actually add value using these tools. Your interview prep recommendations, absolutely amazing. I really like the idea that, hey, we need to be able to adapt to what's coming, experiment, and communicate the value that these changes could bring in, and really take a strong role in being a leader in experimenting and being able to show that you can actually do these things, even if it's to a prototype level. And that can really give you an advantage, especially in your interviews, to be able to show that you're not just using the tools, but you can critically think about how to use the tool that can add value to a business. Some of those really cool ideas around the different tools you could use was also good. And I think you mentioned like lots of interesting things to consider, but the guardrails and the ethical elements and the human judgment cannot be lost at the end of the day. So that's crucial. But thank you. Really appreciate this conversation. Abe, your insights have been super valuable. I love your honesty, love your commitment to helping both employers and talent navigate this fast-moving landscape that we're part of. It's quite rare to have visibility into both sides of the market in the way that you bring your perspective. So thank you so much for sharing, what's important to people, how their careers might shift, what organizations are looking for, and that piecing that together has been super valuable. To kind of look at, just summarizing a couple of high-level points, tech careers are still full of opportunity, is definitely good to hear. And it's also great to hear that the job market's picking up. But they are evolving in a way that you must understand AI and how to leverage those tools. The second one that I just want to quickly highlight is that employers are definitely looking for people who are adaptable, job ready, and not just qualifications. It's the skills you can bring to the table, and how do you really show the human element of what you yourself can bring authentically to the table. And for career changes and first-time entrants, the pathway is real, but it must be intentional, skills-focused, and grounded in what the market actually needs. So to conclude at Mission Ready, this is exactly why we exist. Our role is to help people step confidently into careers that matter, with the right support, the right training, and the right real experience to stand out in the new era of work. Today's conversation reinforces that none of us can do this alone. So it takes educators, employers, recruiters, and communities working together to build a workforce that's not just AI ready, but future ready. And to everyone listening in, thank you so much for your time. You can drop in your questions if you have further questions, and we'll make sure that they do get answered. And if you're considering a shift into tech, if you're looking to upskill to stay relevant, or if you're simply curious about how AI is reshaping roles, we're here to support you. So we'll send through a follow-up email with key takeaways, links to resources, and ways you can connect with both Potentia and us, of course. And just before we wrap up, I've got something exciting to share, that our next webinar, dropping in a few days, we're going to dive into one of the most important topics for the year ahead: how to become indispensable in 2026. So the skills, the behavior, and AI capability every professional needs. And Abe's done a fabulous job at introducing us to these concepts, so we'll unpack some of those elements. what are the emerging roles and the skills employers are prioritizing, how AI is reshaping what value looks like in the workplace, and what are the practical steps you can take to position yourself for opportunity, not disruption. So it's not about the hype, it's about keeping it real. It's about how do you leverage these tools in the right way. And spaces will be limited, so please book your spot early. We want to ensure it's an intimate, high-value conversation, and they will fill up quickly. So details will be sent in the follow-up email along with today's key takeaways and resources. But Abe, thank you so much, and thank you for everyone who's been part of this quarterly market update. Namahi nui. Take care, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks,
Kia ora.
Abe.
Thanks,
Kia ora.
Diana.